the amount of time and money and sensors I've swapped, you know what I'm saying? The funny thing about Polecat, a little over a year ago, I was just perusing Google Maps. Don't really know why.
As one does, you know?
I literally found this track. From here, it's only 25 minutes.
So since you've had basically the 3 best cars to start drifting in, what would you say is the best suggestion to go with?
The easiest was my
Welcome back to the #1 Drift Podcast on YouTube. I am Dawson, and this is...
My name is Willi Culver.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
But a few announcements, of course. So check below. Make sure you are subscribed. If you are not, go ahead and do that now. About 50% of you are still not subscribed. So I don't know why you wouldn't be if you're sitting here watching. But Wiring Specialties, of course, they got you guys with the 5% off code. Just use Circle of Drift. I personally use it on my car. Actually, do you use Wiring Specialties?
Dude, I don't, but I definitely could have in the past. I should be for sure. I know they make great stuff.
Hell yeah. We'll probably get into that, I'm sure. But yeah, so if you guys need any harnesses, go down below, click the link, and use the discount code. And if you guys are needing some last minute parts, of course, and want to support the podcast, go down to our link for Enjuku Racing. They got plenty of parts for all sorts of cars, of course. But I will introduce Willi, or I guess let him introduce himself a little bit. But this is actually the person I had my first wreck with.
Yeah, we did. That's a whole story in and of itself. But
wasn't that your first wreck?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, as far back as I can remember.
I knew you got in drifting like a year or so before me, but
yeah, that was my first bad wreck for sure. But my name is Willi Culver, like you said. I've been drifting since like 2018, almost 2019, I think. And I started on 350Z. Me and Dawson, like you said, he started a little bit after I did, and that's how we became friends. And I'm not really anybody, specific. I'm not, but I'm just your typical
you gotta
guy.
be somebody to have cool stories.
No
kidding.
So there's a lot of stories, and I'm just out here. I just like to have a good time, and I love drifting, just like everybody else that probably watches this podcast. And yeah, that's me.
Hell yeah. Well, the first thing I want to get into,
okay,
because I see a lot of people probably make this mistake. Why did you try and build a fully like SR car? Like what was the point of all that?
Yeah. That was my first, like you said it, that was my first big mistake. And I'm honestly, I'm glad I went that way just because, and I failed, but I'm glad I went that way just because I learned
the engine never made it in the car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it made it in, it just never ran. Like, and I had most of the supporting mods to make it run. It was just, I was like $4,000 off in 2018 money to get it running, and I just couldn't make it happen. But like I said, I wouldn't go back just because I learned so much from that. I worked on that car for, 8 months. And in the end, I saw people going out there and buying $2,000 350Zs and putting maybe $1,000 into it and having more
just watch Brennan do it right in front of you.
Exactly. Dude, yeah, that was the blueprint, right? Because he bought a $2,000 Z or whatever. And
dude, I swear to God, it was just a domino effect.
It was. The day that I rode with him, I was like, just like you, just like a lot of people, I was in the stance car scene before this. And the second I rode with him and I realized how much money he had versus how much fun he was having versus how much money I had in my stance car, so to speak, bag, very expensive 3-piece wheels.
Only so much fun you can have in this.
To go to a show and park and walk around, and then what then? I don't know. So, yeah, I sold that car, and
so how'd you find the Z then?
Well, I was on Facebook for a long time, and I found it. It was about 4 hours away, but it was a good deal, and the guy just needed money.
Wasn't it like totaled in the rear or something?
It was wrecked in the rear, but it was a clean title. And
lucky bastard.
Yeah, man. It's and you to find that kind of deal today you couldn't. And it's just like the 240 stigma. It's just like anything else. It doesn't exist nowadays, which is horrible. But
Yeah. I saw a G35 coupe actually today on Facebook Marketplace that was like 5 different colors. I think it had over 200,000 miles on it. Barely fucking ran, dude. He had a list of shit that was wrong with it, and still was asking like 4 or 5 grand for it. I was like, how does that make sense?
It's insane. But yeah, and I mean, I guess deals are still out there. It's just they're just really hard to come by, and I got lucky with that one. Plus, it was like I said in 2018, and I bought it, and to get me to my first track day, I maybe put $600 into it.
That's it.
Yeah.
What did you do?
You know, because I bought 2 extra wheels. Put the rack spacers, the little spacers you put on the tie rods.
Yeah.
Just like super minimal stuff.
Take the bump stops out.
I think I may have had I think I did have a handbrake. Yeah, I think I did have a handbrake. So I put a dual caliper kit on it just right off the rip because I knew I was going to eventually.
That's what I did.
Yeah, so I just spent the money for that. That's where most of the money came from, actually. But yeah, and like after that first trip day, I had fallen in love, and you know, because like I said, that S14, I bought that as a caged shell and built it up all the way up, and like I said, I was really close to having it going. I just never could do it. So the second that I could sell it, buy a 350Z, and just get out there on track, I did it, and
just selling that car alone funded the entire.
Yeah, because the time between when I bought that S14 shell and when it was a roller with a motor not running, the price had, you know, I made good money on that just because of the price hike. And yeah, so that's how that worked out, which was good. But that 350Z, I mean, as you know, me and you both, we painted our cars at the same time. Mm-hmm. We were 350Z dudes for a while. I mean, that 350Z, that taught me so much more about drifting than probably anything else. I mean, I eventually, you know, it became a full caged car and with Wisefab and everything. And my wife, Alex, she drifted it for a while and she hopped in it and did great.
She ended up buying that thing from you.
Yeah. And so she drifted it for a while, and that was a great car, honestly. And
why did she end up getting out of it?
Tire cost. Yeah, man. Just let you know.
Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, tire cost.
Awesome.
I told her, I was like, hey, you know, it's not cheap, but she knew that going in, but I think she just didn't realize.
She just wanted a taste of it, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
See if she was even worth it.
And I mean, now we got to do the whole, like, you know, we showed up to Beach Bend was the track where we both showed up. I was in my C6 Corvette and she was in the Z. And we got to tandem together and that sort of thing. So, I mean, we got to do...
You got that highlight moment that most people look for.
Exactly. Yeah. We got that out of the way, and that was really cool.
That's awesome.
We both enjoyed that, so...
Well, you used to have a shit ton of issues with your car. So
with the Corvette?
No, with the Z.
Okay.
Run through the most common issue you had with that car.
I have never told this story, and I'll tell you something crazy. I ran that car for the last year of its life doing this weird thing where it would cut power.
Yeah.
For the first... Well, it was really an odd situation. I really could never pinpoint when
we always thought it was like a fuel cut issue.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was so weird because, like, it was just one thing after the next. I never could... The hardest issue was I never could pinpoint when it was happening. And I could never diagnose it. But anyway, whenever I sold that car... whenever you sell something, you're like, well, it does have this issue, but I actually think it's just this.
Yeah.
Well, I did that. And then he was like, well, let's do that and see if that fixes it. Well, what it was the tail lights. It was the Depot LED eBay tail lights that were on the car when I bought it. Dude, I unplugged it and that was the whole issue for the last year.
Entire time. Those janky. So like the whole eBay taillight assembly.
That was it. And the funny thing is Tony Jackson, probably 6 months before I sold it, he was like, man, it's probably those taillights. And for some reason, I just never tried it.
Fuck?
Dude,
I guess it's... I guess that would relate to the whole like left foot braking thing too. That's probably why.
But after
that's crazy.
After that happened, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. The amount of time and money and sensors I've swapped, you know what I'm saying? It was crazy. So
laps lost at the track trying to figure that fucking thing out.
I mean, I would still send it. It was just, you know, like
just sitting there trying to slam the clutch to the floor all the time. So
that was a good car.
You ended up selling that car to, or I guess Alex ended up selling that car to GS Drift Giveaways.
Yep. Sure enough, it was we sold it to Heath up there, and he did his waffle for it, and Austin Mata in Prospect.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he won it, and I kind of told him what was going on, because the thing about it is whenever whenever Alex was drifting it, we had to make some customization for it with the handbrake and the seat. And so there was some stuff that
I did too. You don't want to see my seat rails the first time I had to make them.
Like shorter people, you have to do some things that you just have to do them. And so I had done some stuff for her to be able to drift it. And then so I messaged him whenever I found out he won it. I was like, hey, I built this car, but I'm just going to apologize, the seat and the handbrake. You might want to
some things I ain't proud of there.
Yeah. You might want to recheck those, 'cause there's some stuff going on there. But yeah, that whole process was amazing. They're great guys up there, and they took care of me. I took care of them, and it was all hunky dory. But I honestly, I really missed that car. Although I will say I drove it at the very last event it was at when Alex was driving it, and coming from the C6 back to the VQ 350Z thing, I was just on rev limiter for so long. I was like, if I were
like
to
you were
keep
hurting
this,
the car.
yeah, exactly. I was like, if I were to keep this car, it probably wouldn't last another year, just because
your driving is
at the max,
exceeded too far above the car.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem, why I went into a swap. But now I've kind of fucked myself. But that's a whole different story in its own.
No,
but
I'm very curious on how yours is going, because me and you we were kind of identical cars out there for a really long time, and especially after the paint jobs. And we and him both had almost the exact same paint with just flake.
Changed the flake in it. And that was it. Yeah.
Yep. So
your clear sucked on yours though. It was so. Dude. I still. You know how we were supposed to repaint the cars?
Right.
I still have that gallon of clear.
I still have your old flake.
No way.
Oh yeah. I still have
I'm
all
gonna
of
have to
flake.
get that from you.
I should have brought it. Yeah. I have your because it was purple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have it.
I did purple and black for some reason. I don't know why I did the black. That was stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I did decent colors, I guess, but it was just it was like sandpaper when we were done. I don't know if it was because of the lack of clear or what was going on, but yeah, that was
it needed a few more layers of clear.
I think so. It looked good.
At least another.
It was a 10, 20 footer.
Yeah, of course. Which that's how every drift car should be.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding.
So explain how you ended up from the Z to the Corvette, pretty much. I know you sold the Z to Alex, and that kind of helped fund some things, but
so
you're selling it at your house at the same time too, weren't you?
Right. So I sold my car to Alex, but it wasn't. I sold it to her for like $3,000 or something. It was just
wife price.
Yeah, it was just something to where so we sold our house. We had an influx of money at the time, and I just needed some like $3 extra grand for the Corvette that I bought, which it was a C6 Corvette, 2006, and I guess I just needed that extra amount of money for the car or something. But at any rate, so I did the price breakdown to LS swap my Z with around 400 to 450 horsepower, and we came to the price of like $12,000 to $15,000.
Wasn't that car in Texas too?
It was in Pflugerville, Texas, dude.
Jesus Christ.
And that was a whole nother story too, going down there to get it. But I found that Corvette for $16,000, and you can still find C6s for that price too, which is insane. But
very hard, but
yeah.
once in a while.
You can, but yeah, it was drifted before, but it barely drifted. I mean, he just did a couple drift events in it, so it had PBM angle and the seat and height.
It was a very clean car from what I had seen whenever you first got it.
Oh, it was immaculate when I got it.
Yeah.
So
I've always kind of liked that color too. Most people don't. It was kind of like a pewter almost.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I don't know what the exact name for it would be, but yeah, just the typical Corvette silver. I mean, I wasn't I was fine with it. I had no plans of changing it up.
Did you ever do any like power mods or anything to it? Like anything serious?
No, nothing serious. I had it tuned by Shannon, our buddy, and it dynoed before I had it tuned. It dynoed at like 360, and then he had, it may have made 400 in in the end after it got tuned. But I didn't do anything really to the power. I just did all the supporting mods. You know, I did full FDF angle.
Was that a lot better going from PBM to FDF?
Well, yes, it was. The PBM, all it had was knuckles.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
so,
okay, gotcha.
Right. So I did I did the FDF thing, but the interesting thing was I bought FDF kind of it was version 1, and I ran fuel coilovers instead of the BCs because this was also before BC changed their lower mount design for Corvettes.
Gotcha.
So I ran fuels on FDF, and that had not been done before. So that made me clearance the upper control arm with the grinder.
Oh God!
So but this was all like I messaged Josiah and I said, "Hey, this is hitting." He said, "You should be able." You know, this wasn't me just being like, "Oh, I think this will work."
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah,
you feel a little better about it,
right? So we got that to work fine, and I went to I did a couple events with it, and it was doing good. I finally got it all set up how I wanted to, and then we went to Atlanta to Lanier for an iTrack event, and the angle stops were missing the wheels, so it was over, and that was. I love Josiah. I'm not trying to, I don't mean anything by this. I'm just saying it was a version 1 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was the first.
Exactly. So, and I messaged him while I was at the track. I said, "Hey, these are missing." And I bought this extra collar that I put around the lock stops so they would hit. That's how bad it was off. And I guess one of those eventually failed. The car over, angled, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
And it forced me into a wall, which is half my fault because I shouldn't have. After I realized the fault, I should not have kept driving. But my thing is I've been driving all day. I'll probably be okay. So I technically should have stopped.
The one more lap mentality,
right? And I put it into a wall. But Josiah did well by me. You know, he made the corrections to the kit. And which is now known as version 2, and I think he's on version 3 now, maybe.
So you got to be a part of
yeah, kind of
designing it almost,
yeah, in a very bad way. But he hooked, he was very nice about everything. He sent me the new kit, and we got it all squared away, and everything's fine. After that, and I sold that car solely. I sold that Corvette solely based on the fact is that I got hooked on Razers, like.
Oh my God.
Razors. And I thought in my head that was going to be a cheaper alternative. Yeah.
No.
I've
looked into prices and stuff just for some parts to put on them. Hell no. Y'all motherfuckers are crazy.
Not even close. You almost break more on. I broke something on that Razer almost every time I came out.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would you probably beat the shit out of it just as any other car person would.
No, yeah, no. It's true.
You expect them to handle it.
So that's why I sold the Corvette, and that was a mistake. I missed that car so bad. That was probably my favorite drift car ever, and hopefully one day, I'll be another C6.
That's crazy.
I've had the opportunity to buy and or trade a couple of C5s.
C5s just don't.
It just don't do it for me. And I'm really tempted to.
The pop-ups look goofy to me on a Corvette.
Yeah, the pop-ups and I would do the sleepy eye on them and everything. And that was my reasoning is well, I could probably make a C5 look okay. I could do the sleepy eye. And I was reasoning with myself that this would be okay. But yeah, deep down, I really miss the C6. I should have never sold it. And Alex, my wife, she was in love with that car. She drove it a couple of times. And yeah.
Y'all drove it around the streets and shit all the time too.
Dude, yeah. Oh, that was the other thing was it was it was a registered street car. I mean, it was, and you could drive on the street just fine. And, the FDF made it a little bit twitchy, similar to Wise Fab, as far as street driving goes. But yeah, that was
as any angle kit would.
Yeah, no kidding.
What was the best track you ever drove in that car?
In the Corvette?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with MIR.
Really?
Yeah, and there's
damn, I missed that.
Dude,
track.
that was the best track. I'm so sad they closed that down. And there was 2 reasons. I think obviously it's a way bigger and faster track.
Mhm.
And which is where the Corvette third gear shown.
Was it you're talking about the back track, the road course one?
Even the first one,
okay,
either one, honestly.
Going under the bridge. Ooh.
Yeah, either one. It was between that being a fast track, and then I got some of Dean Kearney's 285 Achilles 123s takeoffs from FD, and I had 6, I think, of those. And I used those that day, and those are some of the best tires I've ever driven. So a mixture of the tires and the track, but I think either MIR or Atlanta Motor Speedway in the Corvette was probably my.
Damn, I bet that was tight.
Yeah, I had really good media from Atlanta Motor Speedway, so that might have been why I'm saying that.
Yeah,
because like the media
get
was
hyped
sick.
up after the fact.
Yeah,
that was the best one.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, like the Corvette was, I don't know, it was top tier for me. I mean, it was a 2006, so I didn't have the bad diff, but in the back of my mind, I was always scared I was going to
completely demolish it.
Yeah. And honestly though, one thing they don't tell you about a Corvette or a C6, and I don't know about C5s. One thing they don't tell you about a Corvette is I went through so many growing pains as far as things that can go wrong on a C6 that they don't tell you.
Like what?
The clutch cable runs right by the headers, so if you have aftermarket headers, you better reroute it or heat wrap the shit out of it, because I blew 2 from one. The first one was a stock one from overheating, and the second one was a leak from the aftermarket one getting too hot and expanding, I guess, and started leaking. Yeah, so that was one of them. And then the other thing is just, you can't, with a 350Z, you can spend, let's say you can spend $1,000 on GK Tech and have a really good angle kit on a 350Z, whereas a Corvette, you better buy some good stuff for a front end, because you can't, maybe you can cheap out now. There might be new stuff out, but you want a lot of angle on a C6 Corvette.
Yeah, they don't, from the factory. The angle
there's
is absolute trash. And I remember bitching about the Z's factory angle being trash.
Yeah, Corvette's
which is
worse.
Pretty wild. So that's crazy though. I can't believe you got rid of the fucking thing.
I can't either. I wish I wouldn't have. Don't
get rid of your Corvette if you get one.
If you ever get a C6 Corvette, don't get rid of it. You'll probably regret it. Or better yet, if you ever have a car that you truly believe is a great car, really think twice about selling it, because you're probably going to regret it eventually.
I posted the FC for like 2 days and took it down.
Yeah, not a bad call.
That's
if you really like it, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because, and don't get me wrong, I had a great time with my Razer era, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
That was some of the best times as well. But I'm not sure if I would trade.
There's really no ROI on
Razors
type of motorsport.
There's not. I maybe broke even. And I don't know how. I can't remember. Oh, I maybe broke even because I got a really good deal on it when I bought it. And that's only because it had a super low cage, and it was a 2020 Razer Pro, and at the time there wasn't lowering seat rails for this Razer, so the dude paid someone to custom make him a super low cage, and his head was hitting while he was driving. And I went all the way to
Don't say.
Yeah. I drove all the way to Kentucky, and my head was hitting, and I was like, ugh. So I
That's
popped
rough.
the seat out, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I could probably mod this to work. So I bought it anyway. And sure enough, I was like cutting on rewelding tabs upside down, and it dropped the seat in the back down. And so I had a fist, which is what they say you're supposed to have, but probably more is better, but a fist worth of room above my head. And I made that work. And then, so I got it for a good deal and sold it for a little bit more than.
Oh yeah.
But I also broke a lot of stuff and upgraded a lot of stuff. So like I said, maybe I broke even.
So I mean, I guess you wouldn't be able to increase the value just by throwing better parts on it like you could a car, right? Because that's kind of what I mean by like no ROI. Like even if you do stuff to it, there's still no.
Yeah, there's not as much ROI on that kind of thing, because it's almost like people expect it. They expect to buy a Razer that's got.
They look aftermarket from the factory.
Yeah.
Like if you're a dumbass and don't know anything,
and
I kind of am when it comes to racers, just to be honest. But
well, not only that, but like, and even if you're not, even if you know what you're going for, it's just the around Tennessee, our trails are some of like the top class trails.
are they really?
Yeah, as far as off-roading goes. Yeah, I mean, as far like in East Tennessee and stuff,
I can see that. Yeah.
Windrock and stuff, and Brimstone, they're like very, very technical, hardcore off-road trails, and a lot of people come from a lot of different places to go ride them, but they're just hardcore. So
yeah,
it's just whenever you buy one from Tennessee and you're going to ride it in Tennessee, you're going to want pretty much all upgraded arms and diffs.
you're gonna have to have bad boy
like
parts.
Yeah, I mean, snapping. I snapped my differential, or I mean, not my differential, my drive shaft, my front drive shaft in half. Sheared it in half.
So okay, so again, I don't know anything about side by
you're
side.
fine.
So front drive shaft.
Yeah.
It would just be like kind of the same, or would it go to a transfer case?
It's the transfer case is directly where the motor is, which they're rear motors. So there's a 2 foot rear drive shaft and let's say 4 or 5 foot front drive shaft with a carrier bearing. And yeah, I was just on a rock wall.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I was just kind of just running it hard, and it just caught traction all of a sudden, and yeah, just sheared the drive shaft straight in half.
Okay. Explain how you moved from the Corvette I guess it would be the Razer into the Mustang.
Yeah, so I had the Razer for I don't know, let's say like 7 or 8 months. I actually had 2 Razers, and I would always still go to the track and support the homies, whatever, get ride-alongs, whatever, and I obviously I had the itch, like I couldn't stay away from drifting, and so eventually I sold the Razer, and I was...
You still kept one of them?
No.
Or you sold both of them?
I sold, in the end I only had one, and I sold that last one. I only had 2 Razers for a couple months or so.
No.
It's not very financially, you don't ever want 2 Razers for sure.
What was the point of the second one? Just to have another one?
Exactly. That's why you should know.
Jesus Christ.
Gotcha, bitch. So yeah, I want to get back into drifting. I had the itch, as you would, and but I wanted to go a different route. I wanted to do where the Corvette was a clean title, street drivable car. I didn't actually drive it on the street very much, as much as I thought was worth it to have a clean title. So I did the Copart thing, which that's a whole story of itself, it's a good story.
Could you explain what Copart is if nobody
Absolutely.
knew what it was?
So Copart is it's an online auction where if you were to total out your car and you had insurance, the insurance company would sell it to other people via Copart. So you're buying a salvage title vehicle.
Sweet.
Which obviously...
The more you know. Insert meme.
So it's a lot cheaper, but it comes with a lot of risk, because unless you pay a fee to have someone go out and inspect it for you, you're buying it sight unseen. So you only have the pictures to go off of, and there's a little bit of notes on there as far as miles, runs and drives, and where the impact was. So I was going to go that route, the Copart route, and it was its own like mess of problems, because you can't just go on Copart.com and submit a bid and buy a car. You have to have, or at least, I don't know if it's a state of Tennessee. I'm not exactly how that worked.
Dealer's license and shit.
Exactly. You had to have a dealer's license. That was my first hurdle. So luckily, a good childhood friend of mine, Nick Hill, he has a car lot now on the side, and I messaged him. He's like, "Yeah, man, here's my login." And I'm like, "Sick." That
was easy.
Yeah. So like that was great. Like that made the whole thing way easier. So then I spent the next month just perusing. I didn't even know what I was actually trying to buy. A 370Z. That was because I really missed my 350Z.
Yeah.
So I was really trying to buy a 370Z, but those things were like $13,000 total, or salvage title.
Tommy Effie, I was talking about that around the same time, I think, when you were looking.
Why they're so expensive.
And he ended up finding one for like 10 grand somehow. Yeah, but he was like, even that's just stupid.
And so I was looking for a drift ready car, meaning angle, seats, supporting mods, be it cooling, diff, whatever, depending on what car, for $15,000. That was my goal. And so I couldn't find a 370Z. I looked at a couple Corvettes, but Corvettes being the way their body is, and you know, being a lot of fiberglass, it was kind of sketchy. And it's not to say that it couldn't be done. It was just
something you kind of have to see more in person to be able to make your judgment call on that.
So my next option, in my head at least, was a Coyote Mustang, and I found the car. I bid it on a couple of them that I didn't win, but I finally came across the car that I own now. And I guess I'll just be forthcoming on all the details. So I bought that car. It was a 2012, or it is a 2012 Mustang Coyote, first gen Coyote. I bought it at auction for $5,600 with 72,000 miles on it.
You said what year again?
2012.
12. That's actually, yeah.
Yeah. And it was a front end damaged car. And so then there's co-part fees. And then my good buddy, Brandon Rose, he owns a trucking company. Mm-hmm. And so I paid him some money. And so all said and done, co-part, the fees, and the delivery, I think I was into the car for like, let's say, I think it was $68 or $6,900.
Okay, so like $1,500 in fees and shit.
Yeah,
it's kind of tacked on top.
Yep. And so the other thing about this was I went to go. So I won the auction. I'm just bidding on it right at like 9:30 in my hotel room. I was traveling for work at the time, and they're like, "You won. Pay now." And I'm like, and so I like enter my credit card. Like, yeah, I'm like entering my card number, and it's like, this card is not linked to the account. And I'm like, oh my God. Ooh. So I'm like calling Nick. I'm like, hey man, and he's like, oh yeah, I have to pay for it. And like, so luckily this dude, you know, we're good friends. Like I said, we basically grew up together, and at least like, you know, from like 13 years old and up. And so luckily it worked out. He put it on his credit card, and whenever I got back home from out of town, I brought him the cash for it. But yeah, like that was
what a clutch save, buddy.
Dude. And like I you know, that was some good buddy saving right there. Like it wouldn't have been possible without him, honestly. It was so that worked out. And so Brandon Rose, being a car guy, the guy that towed it back to my house for me, him being a car guy, he like every time he stops for fuel, he's like tinkering at it, like looking at it.
Yeah.
And he like sends me a video, and he's then got the thing started. He's like, yeah, I pulled the AC fuse and put it in this other fuse thing that was blown, and I reset it has an inertia switch on it.
Yeah.
So he reset that. He's like, yeah, I got it fired up. He's always like sending me all these videos. And so he drops it off at my house.
That's hilarious.
And we get it unloaded, and we're looking at it, and we're like, oh wow, this is a really nice car. We're like looking at it. Full like red leather interior. It's got like a Shaker 1000 audio system.
Got all the premium packages.
And then we open the glove box, and it's got a spec sheet from the dealer. And the dude bought it in 2012 for $45,000. And he did the Brembo upgrade, a glass roof.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And so it's
that bitch is heavy as hell.
It probably is. And if I ever get into a wreck and that shatters,
I'd be scared shitless.
Done. Yeah. It's not practical. I just didn't know that it had
Keep the visor down.
I had no idea it was there when I bought it. It just looked like a regular
black roof. Yeah.
So eventually, like, I'm starting to put this car back together to where it's a roller, and I'm starting to see, I'm like, oh wow, this thing. So it has a drive shaft shop, aluminum drive shaft in it. It's got all the rear arms on it already. It's got it had an upgraded diff on the spec sheet on the build list, and I want to say it was like a 411, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have brought a picture of that, but yeah. So it was like
you can send me a picture later. I can throw it on there.
Okay, all right, good deal. So it was a full spec car. and it had a lot of aftermarket stuff. It was tune, intake, Cook's headers, GT 500 axle back.
Damn.
Like the whole thing. And so
for less than $7,000, remember that?
yeah, less than well, yeah, I guess you're right, $7,000. So sorry, my math's off.
Stupid.
Yeah, and so I was super excited about that. I put let's say I think I put maybe $1,000 into it back to get it rolling. And then I did all like the drift upgrades. So like full coilovers, Scotty D angle kit, chase base handbrake, dual caliper, bridge moto seats, just steering wheel, shout out Grip Royal, the whole 9 yards to make it.
Scott over there is so cool.
Dude, that dude's my guy.
Yeah,
he's
cool as fuck.
Yep.
Every time I've seen him at an event.
Yep. And did you see the event that he's put together at the Drift Mansion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
So
I still want to go to the Drift Mansion once.
Dude, we went the first time and that's why we're going back. It's just really hard, honestly, to get a big enough group of people together that will put the money up front. Mm-hmm. Because he's John, the owner of Drift Mansion, they'll stay booked, like they're booked like a year in advance almost.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so
he's a genius for starting that.
he is,
like,
and he's
absolute genius.
And he's a great guy. Like whenever we went, he'll just hang out with you. And
Really?
it's not
cool.
the kind of, it's like let's say if you're going to Airbnb and the owner hung out with you, you'd be like, why are you hanging out with me? You know what I'm saying?
He's a little
but
sketch,
with him,
bro.
it's like he's just like he's just so easy to get along with. And honestly, though, it's like if he wasn't hanging out with you, it'd be a safety hazard because the way that place is set up is you want to hop on some Razers, some dirt bikes, and some four wheelers, you do
you
it,
have
buddy.
a little bit too much freedom, probably.
You can, and we broke Alex, my wife, she broke a Razer like the second night, and like we broke a lot of stuff, but yeah, that whole experience is great. But yeah, so that's how I got into the Mustang, and it's a great car. The only thing is, it's electric power steering, full electric, not electric over hydraulic. It's full electric, and so that's very weird. It's very hard to drive.
Is it like twitchy?
It is twitchy, but there's also steering modes, so you can put like performance, sport, whatever. Some are better than others.
Can you adjust like the weight of it?
That's what that does, kind of. The weird thing is my first...
Probably all it does, honestly.
The first track day I had, I put it in sport, because for some reason in my head, I'm like, that would make the most sense, I guess. But I can't remember exactly what the mode's called, but like the cruising mode is actually the better mode for drifting. Is because it self-steers.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make it easier to drive, but really it self-steers more.
Huh.
So after I figured that out, that helped. But I've let two of my friends who are decent drivers, being Colin and Jared.
Yeah.
And not because they're bad drivers, but they could not drive this car.
No shit.
Like they will, like you could ask them today and they'd be like, I will never get in that car again.
It's like throwing a drifter on a sim for the first time. Like the lag time, you just can't comprehend it.
But like, for example, Dustin, he coming from a Mustang, and I told him, I said, hey, be in front of the steering, steer into this. And he's like, yeah, I think I got it. He did, and he fucking loves that car.
No shit.
Oh yeah, dude. He'll tear it up in that car.
He's got the body style before yours, right?
He did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense, yeah.
Yep. So he kind of knew what to expect and all that. But it's a very odd car, and then obviously it being a straight axle rear still. That's another weird thing if you're not used to it. And Dustin was used to it, but I wasn't. It took me a good probably 2 events before I could feel comfortable in that car. Now I'm not gonna tell you that I love that Mustang. I'm not gonna tell you that. It's a great car because all I have to do now is bolt check it and change the oil. That's the only thing I have to do. It's a
good seat time car.
It's a tank, and honestly, like it's what I need at this point. Yeah. I don't really have to work on it, unless something bad happens. Just load it up and take it to the track. So it's a great car for that. It's just as far as feeling comfortable in it immediately. It takes a while. I'm not as comfortable in it, but you know, it's
what
a
was
great
the one
car.
thing you had to get used to the most besides like the power steering?
Oh, other than that, I think that's it. Like
That's it.
Dude, the power steering is it's so hard to figure out. And I mean, well, I don't want to say it's so hard to figure out. It's just,
you ever want to replace it with like Volvo or something? Make it
I've
even
thought about
make
it.
it like a more efficient setup.
Me and Brennan have sat down and like trying to figure out the best way to do this. And so from where it was wrecked, the car was wrecked, I put an aftermarket K member under the bottom and a subframe. They call them K members on Mustangs.
Mm-hmm.
And so from where all the pickup points are from the steering rack, because it's electric, I would have to change out the K member. So I'm assuming a newer model, an older model Mustang, a first gen S197.
Yeah.
May work, but then I have to figure out a way to get a pump in there, and I could do the Volvo pump, I assume. But it's just
James Dean to bring you over.
Yeah, no. Hey, that was
the move.
That was a ticket for them. That worked amazing for them. So there's some things I could more than likely figure out. But like I said, now I'm used to it enough. I can go out there, I can turn laps. It's not a huge deal for me. But it's just like, let's say if I had unlimited budget with this car. Yeah, I would definitely change it. But I don't really, the only issue I'm having still with this car is on a track like Polecat. Was a very big, wide, long track, fast track, very fast track. And it was very...
That's what Andy was saying, because I do his media, so I had to edit that vlog that he was at Polecat, and it looks like a wild track.
It was, dude. That was that track, that is the best. Like, if you need to get your car done for that next event there, I think it's in August, end of the year, because that track...
ECU and a tune. That's it.
That's it? Dude, you got that.
A couple little small things, like I got some angle kit stuff, bushings, stuff like that, but...
you got that. You should, like, I'm telling you, if I know it's hard to say it's a bucket list for you because you've never been, but if you could just have, you should make that a bucket list, because I'm telling you, that track, it's something else, man. And it was just like, so the funny thing about Polecat, the track in general, is a little over a year ago, I was just perusing Google Maps. Don't know why. Don't really know why.
As one does,
And I literally found this track, because it's only, from here, it's only 25 minutes. And I was like,
I know that.
Actually, I take that back. I was not perusing Google Maps. I was on Facebook and a Drive Polecat ad came up, and I was like, what is Polecat? Then I went on Google Maps. Then I found it, and I'm like, that'd be the coolest thing to drift ever. So I did some research on Polecat, found out what it was, and I messaged Barry, who runs Slide Factory.
Yeah.
You know. And I was like, hey, man, you should try.
If you don't know, go watch the episode.
Do it. I was like, man, you should contact these owners, and you should try to get a drift day here. I was like, I don't know if that's possible. It's a very strict looking track. They do like, it's not F1, probably like F3 training there, and like full road course stuff. Sick. Yeah. I was like, but you should really do this. And he was like, okay, I'll try. And he never had any luck. And then like fast forward a year, and iTrack is like, we're hosting a drift event in Tennessee. It's the best track ever. You'll never guess what it is. And I commented on there. I was like, I bet it's Polecat. And so after they released it, Matthew Bruick, who runs iTrack, he was like, it was Polecat. He was like, how'd you know? And I was like,
I've been hoping for this forever.
Yeah. And so like, of course, the second that because it was like a style exhibition thing.
Oh, sick.
It was like a local, what's that called? US Air.
Oh, final bout.
It was a local final bout, as best you could have it for the first one, right?
Yeah,
in Tennessee. And that's what they were going for. That's what iTrack was going for. So you tell me how a 2012 Mustang GT that's wrecked in the front, has a huge hole in the front still. I've got it fixed now, but at the time I did not, is going to make it into this. Don't ask me. I don't know how, but I got accepted. Yeah. And I think it's probably just because I kind of know Matthew
newer
a little
body
bit.
styles and
Yeah, I mean that helped too. But yeah, so I was really lucky, and I got to drive that track. But oh wow, I got really sidetracked. But that was the track that I was like, okay, this steering sucks.
yeah.
And because of that driving experience in that car, made me post it, and it's actually still posted now. Just because, but I've fixed all the damage, and it's getting wrapped here in like a couple days actually. Yeah.
Well, this
5
comes
days.
out Sunday. You want to spill the beans on what it is?
Well, I will if I just don't. It's getting a full livery. Barry's gonna do that, and
Hell yeah.
it's not a secret or nothing. It's just it's getting wrapped.
What color
It's
is it
a
gonna be?
darker, like black grays, a little bit of white, a little bit darker blues,
Okay.
but mainly black and gray.
Did you put any type of kit or anything on it?
No,
No, just stock
no,
body?
just stock body. I mean, because because that car was spec'd as a GT/CS, it
Mhm.
has
Like the GT appearance package and stuff?
right, yeah. So it has that going for it, but no,
Hell yeah.
I'm just at this point.
Excited to see it now.
I just wanted to put a little bit of money into it to where I'm okay with driving it, I guess.
yeah,
Because before
you don't feel ugly driving it?
right before it being wrecked, I was just kind of using it as a drift car to get seat time, whereas now
I want it to be a cool car
I
that
want
I
it to
can
look
get seat
better,
time.
right?
Yeah.
As good as a Mustang can look. I'm not even a Mustang guy. I'm really not. That's not who
Yeah.
I am. But that's what I have, and I'm gonna make the best of it. But
Buy what you can, get into drifting.
yes, that's it. That's it. I mean,
Simple as that.
do what you can with what you got, and
So since you've had basically the 3 best cars to start drifting in, what would you say is the best suggestion to go with?
the easiest was my 350Z stock motor, with WiseFab. But that's because it was WiseFab. That's a cheat
Yeah.
code. They're so easy to drive. Like I said, I put my wife in it, and the first drift day, she was linking track, no problem. It's just easy. It's a cheat code. That is the easiest way as far as being good. I wouldn't say it's the right way. I'd say the right way is like the way I did my 350Z. It was hardly no angle.
Yeah.
'Cause I did hardly no angle to GK Tech.
Yeah, you went through multiple different steps. Yeah.
Just to get to the WiseFab. But the most fun is definitely the Corvette. The Corvette it's the most fun if you have if that's what you can afford, like if you don't really have that low of a budget,
Yeah.
and you can spend money, then definitely C6 because plenty of power, plenty of grip, plenty of style. It's just you have to remember with the C6 Corvette, after you buy the Corvette alone, you have roughly $5,000 to $6,000, if not more, $1,000 to put into it.
that because everyone fucking says that Corvette is the #1 drift car to start on, and I'm just like, it's not really though, because you're still gonna have to dump so much money into it.
There's a
Z,
lot.
you can go out there and drift it like literally as it came from the factory.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I mean, and so I guess my answer would be 350Z, but they all have their own things. I mean, a Mustang is also good if, let's say, if you like Mustangs and you just want a tank that'll go out there and do the same
Yeah, you
thing.
can bully people around on track. with
Yeah,
it.
I mean that's then go for it. Although I will say and I messed up myself on this, so let my mistake be a lesson to you. Like I said, I bought 2012, and one thing I did not realize is my year alone, the body panels, or at least the front bumper, hood, and fenders. I think it's the fenders, but at least the hood and the bumper I can only use 2010, 11, or 12.
What?
So that's 3 years.
Like different mounting tabs or something?
They're just different. Like the hood and the front bumper are different. So whenever I was trying to find a used front bumper and a hood, it was impossible. Eventually I had to buy.
That's annoying.
Yeah, I had to buy a new front bumper, and I finally found a hood. But yeah, so that was another thing. Like a first gen S197 It doesn't come with the Coyote. It's a 3-valve.
Yeah.
But you can find parts for them things all day long.
It's like an LS almost.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have patience, you could probably find a S550 Mustang for roughly the same price.
Dude, I'm saying, after having been Hobson on, that's like honestly the way to go. If you got 20 grand to just drop on a car,
yeah,
that'll be future proof. It'll get you seat time with good horsepower. I'm telling you, minimal parts.
And I don't know, I don't know much about Ben Hobson's S550, but I'm assuming he has the coilovers angle kit, right?
Yeah, it's literally as stock as you would want a Mustang drift car for seat time.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I did to mine. That's all if you're just trying to have a good time, that's all you need. And that's what he gets a lot of seat time in, and look how good he did in Pro Spec.
Oh, dude, now he's in a fucking pedal commander car, and he killed it.
He podiumed. I mean, right? I mean, he was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what place he was, but he definitely podiumed in Atlanta. So yeah, good for him. And I've been, with we did clutch kickers for a couple of years. Our team did, and I remember Ben driving his S14 there for 2 years, and he was always a great driver there. I'm super stoked for him and how far he's come. That's great.
Speaking of that, what's your thoughts on clutch kickers?
The current state of it now?
Yeah.
I
called that shit a long time ago that they were going to fucking shut down. Yeah.
Because it's not sustainable. It's not as sustainable as it was. And I guess what it wasn't sustainable either, obviously, because they shut down. But that was unforeseen, obviously. I think I really feel for them. That whole team is a great, clutch kickers as a team.
Everyone I've talked to from up there,
Dude,
they're
great.
fucking awesome.
They're great. They're great guys. They held a great event. I never went to any of them at the Freedom Factory. Once they moved it down there, it turned a 7 or 8 hour drive into an 11, 12, 13 hour drive for us. So us as a team, we never did do that.
Yeah. On top of that, it was a lot heavier competition too.
A lot different track.
You can almost guarantee most of the time you're going to be wasting money than
it was almost that way with the old. I mean, they say the old track was a equalizer, and it was. It really was. It's just you could almost pinpoint the top 4 contenders the second you roll your trailer in. And that might be.
I mean, that's honestly the truth, though. It's fucked.
Yeah.
But.
And there's no. I mean, the only way around that is just to be better. It's not necessarily because they had more money. And here's a good example.
You would kind of have to drive that track to really understand that.
Yeah, that track.
It is really very technical.
We drove that.
So awesome. Yeah.
We drove that track together. That was a good time. That's a really fun track. But another way to look at this though, on their old track, that Emerald Coast, like Taylor Ray podiumed several times. I think he even won first place, and that was in a Miata, LS Miata, and he's a phenomenal driver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just and he has good horsepower too in that car. But I'm just saying
he had to beat the shit out of that thing to keep up with everybody.
So it's like anything was possible there. It's just I think honestly, I guess it always comes down to who's a better driver. But
yeah, do you think they'll ever come back?
I think so. I think they will.
I think they'll find a way to.
I think so too. I think the momentum that they had is good enough for potential, people to put money in.
Yeah.
To see the R.
They're gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to shove a lot of money up front.
I think so
to build their own track. That way, they don't have that constant outflow of money.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to. Well, I thought they were posting at one point where they had found a new track, but I might be wrong about that.
I haven't seen anything. I may be wrong. Let us know in the comments if we are wrong. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought they were like looking at a track or something like that. Like something was kind of in the works. But obviously I don't think it's going to be this year.
Oh yeah, definitely not this year. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it for the next 3 years probably.
Yeah, it's going to take some time.
Real. 100K. I mean, even the Riverside 50K.
Yeah,
that got pushed back to August.
I saw that. It's conflicting schedule, right?
I mean, I would assume. Yeah. But I'm sure even 50K. That's a lot to sustain as well.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that may have played a part in why they pushed it back a little bit too. But
maybe, and that the Riverside 50K is a great I love that track. I've driven it once and been there a couple times, and
I've yet to drive it, but it looks like a really fun track. So many different layouts you can do.
Yeah, I drove it a long time ago, and it was when Brennan first got his LSZ started. Yeah, and like I did 2 laps, and I'd never driven an LS car. I never, and it was like so sloppy, but I did get to drive it. But those like high money shootouts like that are super hard to, and like an example is like Barry, he tried to put one together here in Nashville. I think it was a 50K.
Yeah,
I think it was up there in money. It might have been 25K, but at any rate, it ended up falling out just because not enough people would commit, and he didn't have the financial, just to be like, hey, it's still going on no matter what. Like that couldn't have happened. So
just physically got squeezed out of that.
Yep.
Going through all of these cars, and especially the motorsports background, what's been like the key thing you've learned going through multiple different setups?
The key thing I think I've learned, and there's majority, the Corvette was my lesson. If you find something that works, don't just get rid of it because you think you might have something else better. And it's not always the case. It's just been my case where I thought maybe there was something else better out there, and it probably is. It's just for me. I think that's the one thing I've learned, and it was the same way like you when I was a kid. Like I grew up, dirt bikes and all that. It was the same way. Like I'd sell something thinking I was, gonna get the next best thing, and it wasn't always the case. So I think my thing is unless you have a really, really, really good reason and you could see yourself 5 years from now not regretting it, then sure, sell it. But otherwise, I just stick with what you got because in the end, it'll be worth it.
You really regret selling that fucking Corvette?
Yeah, no, I really do. Like
that's crazy.
It sticks with me a lot. And it's still around. Louis, he still owns it from AZ Rags. Mm-hmm. So I still see it, at Pro-Am and stuff. I'll see it this weekend at Pro-Am. So it's still around, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
Where do you think that car would have been by now?
If I still had it?
Yeah.
It would probably be exactly the way Louis has it. And the only thing that Louis did is
insert picture.
The only thing that Louis did was he caged it and he wrapped it. And well, he did.
That's really all it needs.
Yeah, he did. He dropped it off at Jonathan Cashhurst's place, and he did like I think like a typical tune up and a really nice tune on it and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, it's exactly the same. Like it still has some of my stickers on it on the windows. Like it's the exact same car, and like it almost hurts worse, right? But
let me buy it back, please.
Yeah, no. And I told him, I said, look, when I sold it to him, I said, if you ever sell this, I want to buy it back. Even though if he were to message me right now, I was like, hey, I'm selling it. I'd be like, well, I can't buy it. But like, yeah.
Just for the opportunity. Maybe one day.
Right. Yeah.
Damn. Man, I feel that.
Yeah, I really regret that car. That was a good car. I had a good story with it as far as going to pick it up and everything else.
Well, after going through the regret, do you see yourself drifting like forever, pretty much? Or do you think it'll eventually die out for you?
If I'll probably be around for a good long time. Mm-hmm. I don't do as many events as I did when I started. A majority of that is obviously cost has gone up insanely. The other part is, having a kid kind of slows things down. It's not an excuse whatsoever. It's just I just want to spend more time with him. I can't just
different priorities.
Yeah, exactly. But I couldn't now since I took a step back and immediately regretted it. I don't think I could do it again. That's why I'm saying like the Mustang is good for me because it always starts up. It always does what it's supposed to do. It's it's a great car for
like Jackson said last week. Drift me, part me. Drift me, part me.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I did a thing like I completely downsized after I sold that Corvette. I had a Duramax with an enclosed trailer and everything, and I like downsized everything all at once.
Yeah.
I went to a gas truck, an open trailer, just to downsize everything. Like it was getting to where it was just a lot. It was a lot,
In a little too deep.
It didn't need to be.
Yeah.
For what I was going for. I'm not trying to go compete. I'm trying to go out there and have fun. I didn't need all this nice
Dude, I felt
stuff.
so behind with y'all every single time.
Well,
Because like y'all had the diesel trucks, y'all had the big trailers and stuff.
But
and
look,
I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, but like, look now. It's all like.
Yeah, I know. Everything totally laid out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And as far as my side,
Yeah. Everything ended
you
up
regret a
gross.
Corvette. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that Corvette.
I know that sucks.
Yeah. It's okay though. I mean, like I would love to still have it, but honestly, there's no telling. Like,
Yeah.
There's no telling where I'd be otherwise.
If you would have kept it, maybe it would have blown up on you. You never know.
And that's fine. I probably would have done some. I probably would have put some. It's fine. Like I said, if I wouldn't have done that, I would have never bought. Excuse me. I would never bought my Razers. I would have never had that whole experience. That was a whole experience in of itself. I met a lot of great people out there. I had a lot of great times. I mean, it's basically going out in the woods and drinking with your friends, but also while doing something insanely fun. And we traveled a lot doing that. Overnights and stuff. So, like I said, I don't regret anything as far as that goes. I should have done it without selling my Corvette. That's what I do regret.
Well, with all that being said, besides regret, what is the best piece of advice you could give to anyone starting, like just getting into drifting?
Okay, yeah. So
if you want to talk directly to him, you got that camera right there.
Okay. So getting into drifting, there's two ways you could go about it, in my opinion. You could either do the cheap car, cheap mods, but essential mods, meaning, the typical suspension angle, maybe a seat, maybe hydro, maybe whatever you deem necessary. And let's say you're going to spend $4,000, or you're going to spend $4,000 on a car, and you're going to spend, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000 a year on tires your first year. That's it. It goes up from there. Or you could spend that $4,000 on a nice, very nice sim rig. They've came where once you figure it out, which really takes a long time for me anyway.
I still don't know,
dude. I can't do it. You could buy a nice sim rig and have unlimited tire life and learn the basics that way. And that really goes a long way. So far as the dude who won East 10 Pro-Am last year, solely learned how to drift on a sim. Went out, they spent a lot of money, but they bought a very nice, already drifted Pro-Am.
Make your big
car.
Mistakes on the sim.
Exactly.
Now that the technology is there,
you're not gonna spend $1,000 a day on tires while you're learning. Yeah. So that
I think a lot of people would get wrapped up on like, oh, that $1,000 could go towards the fucking angle kit, or it could go towards all the parts to get it to the track. But like getting it to the track, wasting that $1,000, like you're gonna fuck up more shit, dude. Learning how to drift is like that's what I mean by do the big fuck ups in the beginning on the sim.
Well, not only that, but just how you were saying how you were like trying to catch up. Whenever you were hanging out with all of us. Well, a lot of that comes is you're a little younger than us, so you like
that's always been a big problem of mine. I've always hung out with people older than me.
But starting out, another thing is don't think just about I got to buy this car. Mm. What happened to Dawson was he got the car, but then he also had to buy a trailer. Then he also had to find a truck.
Yeah,
and that it was just I
had to spend a lot of money fast.
Yes,
and just to be able to make it to the track with the entire group. It was. Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're throwing these parts at their cars and these parts at their cars. And I'm like, I got $1. Yeah, I'm broke.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
don't get caught up in wanting to be the same as everyone around you. Work within your means.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and that's what I would say. You can go two routes. You can do firsthand experience and spend a lot of money, and you probably learn a little bit faster, or you'll have fun faster.
Yeah.
But you might not have fun longer because you spent so much money in the beginning for almost no reason, maybe.
and you might burn yourself out before you even get to the final.
Yeah, that happens a lot, and that's almost what happened to me with that S14.
Yeah,
you know, I was
it's a little
trying to
easier
build.
now too. Now that everything's so fucking expensive. I mean, I think the last time I checked, it was like $140 for Kendas for one.
Yeah. Oh, dude, if I
Which, I mean, there's deals all the time and stuff, and you can work
that's
stuff out.
Yeah,
but-
you can. That's what I was gonna say. Is I consider myself lucky if I'm buying tires, which I run 265s, sometimes 255s. But I find myself lucky if I find a tire for $116 a tire. I'm like, yes.
I hate the
Yes.
sound of that fucking sentence.
I'm like, yes, a deal.
What has happened in this world?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
like
man.
back in the day. Well, I won't say back in the day, but you know, like 2018, 2019 when we started, it was like, I don't know, dude, we used to get like $75.
Yeah, dude, I say it
$80.
all the time. We were ordering it like bulk shipments of Acceleras and like
And-
all sorts of stuff for $60, $70 a tire.
Not only that, but so you probably still have a bunch of carbine wheels.
Oh, I have 4. I destroyed 3 of them my last event because I was
happens.
trying to party.
But those carbines or carbines, I'm not really sure, but let's just say carbines. Those were I think it was $130 shipped, I think, per wheel. Or was it less than that?
It was less than, dude. I mean, we got
It
a
was
whole
cheap.
set for like barely over $500.
Yeah. And first off, it's hard to even find those specs. I know because I searched.
Yeah.
I finally found Kansai's in the exact spec I need. But if a person could make an 18 by 9 plus 12 somewhere in that range for $120 a wheel, they would probably sell a lot of them because you cannot find. Dude, I searched a very long time trying to find that wheel in a decent price range.
You can't, man.
It's insane.
It's terrible. It's always like it's hard to find them lower than 22. As far as offset goes, which you really need about 15.
Like those carbines
for
are
most cars.
great. They just don't make them anymore.
Yeah,
Which
just
is a
out the
shame.
window. But well, I guess if you want, plug your people, plug yourself.
Well, my Instagram is my name at Willi Culver. I don't really have any plugs other than Grip Royal. They're my main dudes, and they hook me up all the time with some rad stuff because they're rad dudes. And yeah, that's it. Look at Grip Royal's stuff as far as the drift mention goes. They're sold out on this coming up event, but they're going to do a couple more after this. It's a great experience. They just expanded the track over there at Drift Mention, and hit up Scott if you want to do that. And yeah, that's about it, man.
Hell yeah. Well, as you all know, I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See you next week. Peace.